Good morning, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the historic neighborhood in beautiful downtown McKinney. My name is Pat Rogers, and Charles and I live in a 1910 historic home. And you're looking at my 1942 O'Keefe and Merritt that's going to do some wonderful baking and cooking for us. Now, you know that the holiday season is right up on us, and I am so excited about cooking this year some traditional meals that I always cook for our family. Now, we're going to do today cornbread dressing, which is a Southern dressing recipe. My mother was Zorley Baker, and she made this delicious, soft, and moist recipe all the years I was growing up, and I've carried on that tradition with my family, and it's one of their very favorite things we do with turkey, and sometimes I'm doing the ham with it, and lots of accompanying vegetables and desserts. So the first thing you do, though, to make good cornbread Southern dressing is to start with good cornbread, of course. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now, let me show you all of the ingredients that we have here we're going to use today. The milk and the oil and, oh my goodness, jalapenos and cheese and onion and yellow cornmeal and eggs and all of that. And then you'll see I've pre-measured them over here. So let's get going. All right, we've got our mixing bowl, and we're going to start with a cup of flour, a cup of yellow cornmeal, 2 tablespoons of sugar. Got to have a little sugar, not too much. A little dab of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon. And let me see, what else are we got? Oh, we've got to have baking powder, because that's what makes it rise. We know that. So it's going to take 4 teaspoons of baking powder. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to stir all the dry ingredients up. Nothing difficult about this. Now, then we're going to start with the egg that I've put in a 2-cup measuring cup. We're going to pour in a cup of milk, and we're going to put in 1/4 cup of oil. And we've got the egg, the oil, and the milk, and we're going to whisk it together. Got to get the egg sort of stirred up in there. There we go. I think that's mixed pretty well. And we're going to put it in. Set that aside, and we're going to stir. Now, if that looks a little too moist and runny, I always allow myself the opportunity to add a little bit more cornmeal, and I think that's a little runny. So I've got a little tad of cornmeal over here, and you can tell this is very precise measuring going on. Okay, we got it all done. Now here comes the secret. All right, we're going to put some cheese. Now I'm not going to put all that cheese. I think that's about enough. And that's sharp cheddar. And then we're going to put about 1/2 cup of cream style corn. And that makes it really moist on the inside. And then, if you like it, you can put jalapeno. You may not choose to do that, but my family enjoys that. And of course, always a little onion. So as I said, I'm very precise here. That looks just about enough. Now, we are going to stir it well, and we're going to leave it here a minute, and I'm going to go over and talk about what we're going to cook it in. Now, let me step over here, and we have a cast iron skillet. Now, you may have had cornbread all your life, square cornbread in a cake pan. You may have had it in Pyrex, but in our family tradition, we really enjoy it in the cast iron skillet. And you ask, why is that? Well, it makes a really brown crust. And let me show you. Here's some I have already done. And as you can tell, it has a beautiful crust on it. And this might be something that you would enjoy too, because it really tastes good. So we've got it heating here. And while it heats, I'm gonna call your attention to this big pot back here. Now this is my chicken that I've been cooking. It's one that I had already taken the breast from, and I have made lots of chicken broth because it'll take, this is a very moist dressing, and it'll take a good bit of chicken broth. So, and then what I have in this skillet is celery and onions. Now you can, I've already sauteed them. I put olive oil in there and I cooked them till they were tender and translucent. You can cut your own, chop, 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 chop on all of that because you'll need approximately 2 cups of celery and approximately 2 cups of chopped onion. Or I have discovered that I can buy it at the local grocery where it comes in about a cup in a package. So that's what I chose to do today. And I've already sauteed those for us and it's ready to go in the dressing. This is something that you can do a day or two ahead of time, saute it, put it in a container and put it in the fridge. You can do your cornbread the day before. So a lot of this is just good preparation. Now we're gonna come right over here and I'm gonna get this big bowl and we're gonna move right over here and we're gonna put it in this skillet. But the secret here is, does it sizzle? Now let's try a little bit. It may not be ready. Well, it's beginning to sizzle. So, yep, it's a sizzling. So let's go to putting it in. And then I have preheated the oven. As you know, good cooks, you always preheat. And it's set at 425. I love this little O'Keefe and Merritt. It has a, it has a narrow oven, but it is long and deep. So I have made many a meal in this little oven. And so we're gonna put this down, and I'm gonna get my hot pad, and we're gonna put it in the oven. Now, the recipe will probably call for about 2 of these recipes. So I already have some made up and this ought to complete it. So let's wait and see what's next. All right, welcome back. We're ready for the next stage of making that delicious Thanksgiving or Christmas dressing to go with that beautiful turkey. So the first thing we're going to do after we've made that good cornbread is to get yourself out a really nice big bowl, because there's lots of goodies we're going to put in this bowl. So this is my favorite and I have put it out here. Then I have an array of what we're going to put in the bowl. We have the 8 cups of cornbread that I have already crumbled, and you see it there. We have 4 cups of I put Pepperidge Farm seasoning crumbs instead of just plain breadcrumbs, and there's 4 cups of that. Then we're going to put in a can of cream of mushroom and a can of cream of chicken soup. We have our various seasonings that I'll talk about. We have the chopped celery and onions that we just sauteed, and all of that will go in, and then we have the broth. So let's get going. We're going to put this here, and I'm going to just go ahead and pour out my 8 cups of crumbled cornbread, and we will, and it's pretty fine. It doesn't have to be totally fine, but you can see the texture I've got there. Okay, whoops, there's a big piece. There's one. Okay, the next thing I will do is to mix, and I chose the herb seasoned classic stuffing mix by Pepperidge. There's 4 cups, and we'll mix all of that together. See, let's see here. Alrighty. Now, let's go ahead and put all of the onion and celery. And remember, there was 2 cups each that we sauteed. So let's put that in there. It's already looking good, isn't it? Well, let's mix all of that in. There we go. All the way through. You're going to be able to feed a nice crowd with this, so there will definitely be plenty. All right, we've got that. Now, let's reach over here and get the soups. So, cream of chicken soup is a good base for this. So let's be sure and get it all out. And I've always liked cream of mushroom soup, so let's add a little can of cream of mushroom. Then we're going to really mix that in well. Then we're going to put those seasonings in. Okay, we've got that. All right, we're going to stir all this in. You can see it's getting moist. Here we go. Gotta just keep it going with it. Here we go. And we'll do more stirring in just a minute. All right, the next thing we're gonna add is the seasoning. Now, I'm gonna start at one end here, and we're gonna talk about the seasoning. First thing I'm gonna put in is a teaspoon of black pepper. So we're gonna put that all in. Then I have measured out a teaspoon of garlic salt, or if you chose, you could put in seasoning salt. And then I put a half a teaspoon of salt in there too, so we'll just save a little time. But I love the garlic salt that has the parsley in it. Now, I enjoy putting curry. Some people like it, some people don't. I can't ever tell it's distinctly in there, but there's about a teaspoon and a half of curry. Then I shop at Trader Joe's some, and I get their 21 seasoning saute, and it's a wonderful blend of seasoning, but it doesn't have salt in it. So I put about a teaspoon and a half of that in there. And then, of course, the most important thing is poultry seasoning. So I have about 2 teaspoons of poultry seasoning, and we're gonna sprinkle that all around. Now, all of the seasoning is in there. We're going to really mix it well. And probably I will mix it more than what I show you here. But you get the idea that it has to be infused within all of the dressing. All right, we're getting there. Now, I can tell it's pretty dry still. So the very important thing that we do next is to put 6 cups of good, rich chicken broth. And truly, starting with the chicken and making the broth is the much preferred. So we're going to put, that's 4 cups. We're going to put that in there. And we're really going to stir it up well. And then we're going to add 2 more cups of chicken broth. All right, it's beginning to look like dressing, isn't it? All right, let's get this all mixed, and let me add, this is a 2-cup measuring, so I'll go ahead and put that 2 cups. Now, that should be plenty of liquid for right now. And what I would say by looking at this, I might add another cup to maybe a cup of cornbread, and this will make up, you would want to make up 1.5 or 2 recipes of cornbread, so you'll have some left over, and if you want to add a little bit more in there, you certainly can. But this is, if you do this early in the morning of the day you're serving that evening, you can set this aside and do your other preparations for the day. And then when you get ready to bake it, and it'll take over an hour to bake, that's when you're going to whip 5 eggs, whip them in, and then we'll put it in the oven. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to do it just like this. All right, see you in a minute. All right, we're ready for that final step in making that delicious Southern homemade dressing that you're going to serve on a beautiful table at Thanksgiving or Christmas. Now, a while ago, we stirred up all of the special ingredients that would go into our dressing. And here it is. It has set a couple of hours, and the texture is soft, and it looks like just about the right density. Now, the next step that I'm going to add, that I neglected to add when we were making this, is a can of sliced water chestnuts. So I sliced them thin, the whole can, and we're going to stir them in the dressing. So here we go. Let's just get it all mixed in there. And that gives a really nice crunchy taste. I like a little texture in my dressing, and it adds just the right amount. So the next thing that we're going to do is add eggs. Now, you don't add eggs until you're ready to bake it. And the reason for that is that the eggs at the last moment will give it a lightness, and it will not be dense and packed. So we're going to fold these eggs in. We're not going to stir them in. So I have already beaten them. We're going to pour them in. There we go. And we're going to take our big spoon, and we're going to make a folding motion so that you're not breaking up the eggs. So we're going to stir this. I may not stir it. We're going to fold it. And it's just about ready. Now, this is an amount that will serve easily 10 people. 12, it depends on how big a serving that they get and how much else you have serving at your dinner. So I think we've got it folded in, looks just right. And now we're ready to put it in the bowl. Now I have chosen to use a dish about this size. I usually put it in a bigger dish, but I'm taking part of this today to a friend. So I'm going to put it in 2 dishes, but this will give you an idea. So we're going to put it right here, and I'll explain the eggs in a moment. And I have sprayed the Pyrex here with Pam or something, whatever your choice is, to make sure it doesn't stick. And one thing I'm going to do here before I put any more is to add a cup more of broth that'll go in the bottom. So I'm going to add my broth, and that makes sure that while it cooks, I may not add any more than that in this size dish, but while it cooks, it will soak up the rest of that dressing so that it's not dry. Our whole point here is to make it crusty along the edges and firm in the middle and being just right. So as you can tell, there is plenty for a bigger dish if you chose to do that. Now, we have preheated the oven to 325 degrees. It's not a hot oven. And this is going to cook about an hour. You can check it, you know, regularly and determine just when you want to take it out. I like to have crust around the edges being firm and sort of brown around the edges and very firm in the middle. So I think we're going to stop right here with this amount. You can see the liquid in there, and that's what you're working toward. Now, you might like to add a few sliced eggs on top. I think I will for color. You can just lay them out. I won't put many, but it gives you just an idea. And let's see here. I'll put 6. And we'll see how that adds to it when we come out. All right, I think we're going to stop right there. And I have my oven preheated, and we're going to add it in just a moment. Let me open it up, and we will put it in. And we're going to patiently wait an hour and see what we have, and then we'll talk about cranberry sauce and giblet gravy. All right, see you in a minute. We're back again, and it's time to take that wonderful dressing you and I have just made out of the oven. Now, it actually baked about an hour and 25 minutes. I made 2 large pans, but let's take out the one that we're going to serve at that dinner. So let me get it. Doesn't that look good? Didn't we do well? The eggs have a little bit of smoked paprika on them. And to make sure that it's done, I'm going to stick a spatula in, and if it comes out clean, then we know it has cooked through and through. So now we have the basis. I have the roasted chicken. I decided not to do a whole turkey for this. So we have our lovely roasted chicken. We have the giblet gravy minus the giblets. I don't like giblets, but we put the eggs on top, little paprika, and no meal is complete without cranberry sauce. So we are now have the basis for a wonderful dinner. I wish you the very best and holiday wishes for your family and all your friends. Enjoy.